Hello, I'm Sarah Pollinger from Leabourne Financial Advice, helping you make the right financial choices. In order to be able to help you, I've obviously got to meet you in the first place. The thing with financial advice is that people find a lot of reasons not to seek financial advice. Trust is a big issue. Certainly in the past, financial advisors haven't necessarily had a great reputation, and a lot of people really just don't know whether to trust them. Organisation is required. You do need to get paperwork and policies and find your financial bits and bobs before meeting a financial advisor so that they know what you've got and they can help sort it out. People might find it boring. I can relate to that. Obviously I don't, but lots of people find finance just too dull. In the past, financial advice and financial advisors have sometimes been sort of synonymous with being sold something. People think they're going to get sold a product, not necessarily given advice, which is what they want. Finance generally can seem pretty complicated, lots of jargon, lots of things that people don't necessarily understand, and that can I afford to take financial advice? Potentially people see it as quite expensive. Times people think really there's no rush to get involved in financial advice. I'm quite young, plenty of time to sort everything out. And why? Why go and see a financial advisor? Don't think I really need to. So overall, it can quite often, and to quite a lot of people, seem too scary. But I think it's a little bit like going to a dentist. You can put it off, you don't really want to go, it seems a little bit as if it's going to be quite painful, but actually the reality is, once you've actually been to the dentist, or been to a financial advisor, you can actually feel quite relieved that you've got the whole situation sorted out, and possibly even be happy. And almost certainly after you've been to see Leabourne Financial Advice, you will seem as if everything is sorted and you're a lot happier about your whole financial situation. At Leabourne, we really focus on transparency. We understand that trust is a big thing about going to see a financial advisor, and we hope that you'll feel that you can trust us to do the work that you want us to do. I'm very happy to organise your paperwork for you, work out what you've got, sort it all out, and then we can kind of move forward with whatever it is that we've found that you actually have. And funnily enough, I actually do really enjoy looking at finance and helping people to sort out their financial situation. I try and make sure that I explain things so that you understand in terms that you understand, and if you don't, please, I always encourage people to ask me and not feel worried that they don't understand something. Experience: before starting Leabourne Financial Advice, I was an investment manager for 20 years, and investment experience is something that a lot of financial advisors don't actually have, and I think it is fairly key, since a lot of financial advice does involve investment advice in savings, pensions. It's all to do with investments. Affordable advice, and we don't sell any products. I work on a fee basis, make it very clear how much you will pay before I start any work for you, and I have no commissions, so there's no incentive for me to sell you a product. I'd be very happy to give you advice, and if you don't want to take that advice, absolutely fine. That's, I'll feel like I've still helped you. The thing about small numbers compounding up to big numbers is, if you start early, and even if it's small amounts that you're investing or putting into a pension, they still make a big difference over time. So if you do start early, you're giving yourself more chance. You'll feel better about your financial position and more in control once you have been to see a financial advisor and you have resolved any of the financial issues that you've got. So going to see Leabourne should be too easy. What to expect? Well, the first meeting is free. It's a time when we get to know each other, and that's the time when you can assess whether you trust me or not. The big thing to give me your financial affairs to try and help you with, so you really need to be able to establish that trust. Once we've got through the first meeting, and possibly in the first meeting, I'll do what's known as a fact find, which is basically finding out all about you, and I'll talk about that in a second. I find out what it is you want me to do for you. Once we know what that piece of work is, I will give you a quote for how much I think that work will be, and so you can see before I start it how much you'll be spending. It won't be an open-ended situation. Then I go away and do the analysis and the recommendations, and present whatever it is I'm recommending to you with the reasons why I'm recommending it. And then if you like the idea of putting those recommendations in place, then I can do that for you as well. The other thing is the review situation. Nothing in life stands still, so it is a good idea to keep reviewing where your investments, pensions are at, or savings, whether everything's still tax efficient. So have a review after maybe 6 months or a year and make sure everything's on track and on a regular basis. So the fact find, basically, it's all about you in all detail. So all of your personal details, what are your financial objectives, what's your timescale for what you want to achieve, how much risk are you prepared to take. If we're talking about investments, it's all about matching the risk and the reward. All about your financial situation as well, your income, how much you earn, how much you spend, your assets, which is your property that you might own, savings and investments, they're all your assets. Liabilities are all the debts that you have, essentially, most likely a mortgage, credit card bills, those sorts of things. And also, do you have any existing products, policies already? So do you have life assurance or a pension? When it comes to the advice that you want from me, it tends to fall into two broad categories. People who know what advice they want, so you know you want a pension set up, you know you need some life assurance, you know you want to start saving into an ISA. But you might still need help finding the best product, so what is the best pension for you? It might be the cheapest, and that's not always obvious because of the different levels of charging, but it might be that you want something a bit more flexible, you want something with better features, a simple solution, combination of different things, but it's the most appropriate choice for you and the most appropriate pension or product for you and your circumstances. If it is a pension or an ISA, you might know that you want to set up a pension, for example, but you don't know where to invest. Should it be in cash? Should it be in bonds, shares? Should it be UK shares? Should it be emerging market shares? Should it be emerging market bonds? There are thousands of different investment choices out there, and it can seem like a complete minefield, so most people really do need some help with where they should invest in cash. And it is important, it can make a big difference to the outcome from your savings and pensions. This squiggly line here is a chart of the UK share market, the FTSE, and it shows that over the past year, if you'd invested in the FTSE, you would have made roughly a 20% return. This squiggly line is the Japanese share market, and over the past year, if you'd invested in the Japanese market, you'd have made, in yen, 55%. So, big difference in the return. Even bigger if, unfortunately, you'd invested in gold, which in the last year has fallen 20%. So you can see that where to invest can have a material impact on the eventual outcome for your savings and pensions. Whatever I recommend needs to be appropriate for the risk that you're prepared to take, and that's very important. That squiggly line, or those squiggly lines, there were lots of ups and there were some downs as well, and a lot of people don't want that sort of volatility, and that is how generally people view risk, rather a bit more certainty in life. So I will match your risk tolerance with the sort of investment that I would recommend. The second type of advice is really just more general advice. Will I have enough in retirement? Will I be able to retire at 60? Are my investments in the best tax vehicles? You know, I've got some money to invest, what should I do with it? Could just be, my finances are a complete mess, can you help? If we look at one of those examples, just to show you what I would do in those circumstances and what income might I have in retirement, what's involved in that is to know where you are now, so what money have you got in your pension funds now, if you've got any, and try and project that forward to your retirement age. So the date at which you want to retire, how much might you have in your pension funds then? And generally that depends on your contributions, how much you or your employer or both are putting into your pension fund, and putting in some growth in the investments. So you will invest your pension funds into any of the things we've just talked about. How much might they grow over time? And I will generally be very conservative in my estimates there. So then that gives us a little idea of a pension pot at the time you retire. and I will work out how much income that could generate based on various things, but I will give you an estimate of what sort of income you might then have in retirement. So I do exciting things like this, pension analysis, and this is a cash flow statement. And I use those sorts of tools to help me with those estimates of what sort of income you might have in retirement. And it might be that you've got enough compared with current expenditure or expenditure you expect in retirement. It might be that you haven't. But if we find out early enough, you don't have to panic. And at least by doing that sort of exercise, you can make some decisions now and look at options that you might have. Might be able to make higher pension contributions. You might be able to change the way your funds are invested to try to get more growth from those funds. You may look at other income sources, other savings, maybe you've got an investment in property. Or it may be that you have to reduce your expectations for retirement income and possibly think about downsizing. But having done the exercise, you can make some decisions and change your expectations accordingly. So, what makes Leabourne different to other financial advisors? We're independent and directly authorised, and that means that whatever product policy we recommend to you, we've chosen from the whole of the market. We're under no pressure to choose any specific products. We will choose the best product policy that is best for you. The investment experience I have from spending 20 years as an investment manager is pretty unique. I don't think many other financial advisors have that sort of direct investment experience, and investment is an integral part of being a financial advisor. I'll try to make everything I present to you and talk to you about as understandable as possible, and although it's very difficult to know that you're talking jargon, I'm very happy for you to ask questions and say you don't understand, and I'll always try to explain it. We are advisors, not salespeople, earning no commission on any product or policy that we recommend, and that's important because that means I absolutely can focus on giving you advice. There is no benefit to me selling you a product. I would recommend that you do something genuinely because it is the best solution for you. And the fee structure is based on the complexity of the task and the number of hours that I think a task will take me. But as I say, I will make sure that you're aware of that before I start the work, so it won't be an open-ended commitment. And if I take longer than expected, then there's no additional charge. The aim really of all of what I'm doing is to make sure that you feel in control of your financial situation. Thanks very much for listening.